Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome. It's Tuesday, and it's time for another Facebook Live. We are today in Castaneda, Switzerland, at the world famous Paracelsus El Ranc Clinic, and it's 1 in the morning there. Just got up and threw some water on my face, and Marzi threw some water on her face, and so that we could do this. So hello, and oh, here come the stars. Oh, how great! The hearts and the thumbs ups. Thank you, it's so much. Uh, some of you know that we sent an announcement out a while ago that said we're coming to Switzerland. Would you like to come? And so we're going to be here for 4 weeks with a lot of our tribe from around the world. There's about 30 of us here now, and it's really quite remarkable. Our friend Robin Openshaw traveled the world. She went to 19 different cancer treatment centers to find one that she could really believe in. And when she found Paracelsus, where we are now, the whole world changed. She said, this is it. And we came here last year, and we found it to be everything she said and more. The people here are just, the doctors are angels on earth. They really are quite special. And so we're very happy to be here. Honey, can I have my glasses, please? My reading glasses, so I can see the questions. I see there's a bunch of things coming. Charity is here. Hi, Charity, with a emoticon for waving. That's cute. Thank you. Thank you so much. Elizabeth Rodriguez. Hello, Elizabeth, and Dwayne and Sharon. And hi, folks. Thanks so much. It's so nice to see you guys here. So what I want to talk about today is the basic premise here at the clinic. When people come here, they are really, really sick. Stage 3, stage 4 cancers, severe autoimmune diseases, severe undiagnosed diseases. They come from around the world. And the people here, the staff here, are just exceptional. And for almost everyone, as far as I know, almost everyone that comes here, when they come for a week, the first week they come, it's always the same in terms of the focus is to make sure that your body can detox. Make sure it's capable of getting rid of whatever the toxins are, whatever the poisons are. And the way you do that is to make sure that your liver is functioning well. We've heard about liver detoxes from a lot of our friends, coffee enemas and different things that can help, and those are of value. But I wanted to talk for a moment about the liver and why is the liver so important. And Dr. Petra, who runs the clinic here, she had a talk a couple of nights ago for all the new people. She does it every week, once a week for people. And Ann Darcy's in the house from Tipperary. Hi, Ann. Nice to see you here. Thank you so much. And I know it's late for you too, so thanks so much for staying up. And Dorota Ziapinska. Hello, Dorota. Nice to see you here. Why the liver? And she said a couple of things. Some of it I knew, some of it I did not know. I learned some new things. For example, the liver has over 500 functions in our body. Over 500. And maybe the most important one, arguably the most important one, is that it's your oil filter. If you drop an apple on the ground, you pick it up and you wipe it off and you eat it. And if there's some dirt on the apple and the dirt gets absorbed into your bloodstream through your intestines, that's why for everyone, no matter who it is, any food that you eat, any beverages you drink, no matter who they are, the first thing that happens is that food or that beverage goes through the walls of the intestines into the bloodstream, hopefully in a healthy way without intestinal permeability. That's the goal. And the only place it can go is the liver. That's the only place it can go. There's no other pathway where it can go. Why? Because your liver is an oil filter. And the oil filter it's like a honeycomb with thousands of little honeycombs, the combs of the cells of the beehive. And each of the cells of the beehive is lined with a cheesecloth. So as the blood's coming through the liver, it goes through the cheesecloth. It's being filtered right away, first thing, being filtered, and then it travels out the liver to the rest of the body. So there's a clue. Do you have a need for a liver detox? Focus on your liver. There's a clue that you can do that really helps. And it's a simple test. It's called a liver blemish. And I haven't mentioned it to anyone here yet. I don't think anyone's watching because it's 1 a.m, so they're all asleep. But I have to remember to mention it to them. Between your shoulder blades, on your back, if you press on the skin between the shoulder blades, first on the right side, then on the left side, when you take your finger away, you see the fingerprint that was there? Let me see if I can do that again for you. You see that little fingerprint, and then the blood comes back into the area? That little white spot. Let's see if I can do it here. Let's see if I can make it. Let me see if it works. Yeah. So if I do it here, that doesn't show it very well. It's kind of hard to see it on your back. There we go. There we go. All right. So if I press on it, you see how the blood comes back in, but there's a little white blemish there because I pressed on it and the blood's been pushed out of the area, and then it comes back into the area. You count. How long does it take? 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. So this one's a second, maybe 2, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000. You do it in between your shoulder blades on the muscles next to your spine on both sides. And it should be 1 second, maybe 2. And some people will have 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Some people who are really with a toxic liver, it's 8 seconds or more. And what does this have to do with anything? When the blood goes through the liver, through the oil filter, and comes out comes out the other side to go to the rest of the body, the first place it goes when it comes out of the liver is right by that area in your back, right by there. So when you press, how quickly is the blood rehydrating that area? So when it's 1 second, 2, you're great, no problem. Anything more than 2 seconds, it's a little bit sluggish. And the longer it takes, the longer it means. So when you check it on your children or your spouse and have your spouse check you, you just press on the back. You don't have to push the person over, just a good press on the back. And then take your finger away. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Then you do the other side. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. Okay, got that? Thumbs up if you have it. Can you give me a thumbs up if you got that? It's a really good blemish test. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. So it's a really good test to see, do you have need for attention on your liver? There are so many functions that it does. I'll give you an example for women. As we know, your hormones fluctuate over the course of a month with your menstrual cycle. And estrogen and progesterone go up in the second part of the cycle. And then when your menstrual cycle comes, the estrogen and progesterones go down a little bit. That's normal. So what happens after ovulation is that the hormones start going up a little bit. But it's your job. It's the job of your liver to break down those higher levels of hormones right away. Unless you're pregnant, then of course not. So the idea is when you ovulate and you release an egg, if you become impregnated, if you're pregnant, then the liver stops that function right away because you want your estrogen and progesterone to go up. But if you're not pregnant, it's the job of the liver to break down those extra hormones right away. Why is that important? Because if your liver's not working well to break down the estrogens, extra estrogens and progesterones, you get higher levels of estrogen and progesterones. What's that? PMS. Women that say they've got sore breasts before their cycle, or some women say they have tight brains, it's because the estrogen level's going up, and estrogen is water loving. And so the breasts get sore, they swell a little bit, and the brain can swell a little bit. And so women can have tight brains, they feel anxious or tense. And there's nothing wrong with your hormones, it's a liver problem. And as I said, there are over 500 functions. So it's just critically important to understand just a little bit. And Dr. Petra refers to she refers to the liver as her, and she works for you all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so there's 500 functions. I'm not going to go through all the functions. I don't know all the functions, but that's an idea of how important they are, how the function of the liver is so important on a daily basis. I published this article, and I wasn't thinking about this, but I am now. If you write to info at theDr.com, info at theDr.com, this new article that just got published in the Journal of Gastroenterology and Hepatology that I published in the Journal of Gastroenterology and Hepatology, we'll send you a copy of it. And this is 3 pediatric cases, 3 children who had different symptoms, and they went on a wheat-free diet. And what happened to the kids? All their symptoms went away. One was type 1 diabetes. One was liver sclerosis, a child whose liver was sclerosing up as if they were an alcoholic. And it stabilized on a gluten-free diet. And one is a tumor on the eye. And I'm going to show you a couple of things from the article here. Here's the drawing in the article about the liver, and I think you can see that. And it's the liver on your reading. Well, this side, there's the liver, and this is your stomach over here. It's hard for me to figure out where I'm pointing. Oh, this is good. This is a coordination test. What a klutz I am. No, don't hide your face, but bring your hand over this way. There you go. So it talks about, this drawing talks about how what you eat, in this case gluten, is talking about wheat, and how wheat coming through the digestive tract can cause inflammation in the liver. And in this child, it caused sclerosis of the liver. And it completely stabilized on a gluten-free diet. The other article, or the other case in here, is a child that had a tumor on her eye. This child was diagnosed as a celiac, and they found this tumor on the eye. So the child's looking down now, her eyeball, she's looking down, they lifted up the upper eyelid, and you can see this big ugly tumor. It's called Kaposi sarcoma. It's from HIV. And they discovered this while they were doing the test for the child for celiac disease, and endoscopy, tube down the throat to do the celiac test, and said, well, this child's got celiac disease. And then the gastroenterologist said, there's something wrong with this child's eye, and had the parents take the child to an ophthalmologist, and they found this tumor. Now, as soon as the child was diagnosed with a celiac disease, the parents put the child on a gluten-free diet. Then what happened was that they went to the ophthalmologist and said, well, this is a Kaposi sarcoma, because mom was positive for HIV. But they checked the child's blood, and she wasn't positive for HIV. So they said, what is this? And they said, we don't know what this is. Let's do a biopsy. Parents, we're going to have to put your child under a general anesthetic in order to do the biopsy. And the parents said, oh, no. Our daughter was under a general anesthetic for the celiac diagnosis, and she hasn't recovered from the drugs yet. Can we wait 1 week, please? And then we'll come back and we'll do it then. We just want our daughter to recover from the drugs before we give her more of those kind of drugs. So, but they put the child on a gluten-free diet. So they came back 1 week later, and the ophthalmologist was about to do the biopsy, give the child a general anesthetic, when he said, well, wait a minute, this eye looks different. Pulled out the pictures, like I'm showing you here, of the child when she first came in. Here's a picture 1 week later. That's the same tumor. And so they didn't do the biopsy. They said, well, let's watch this. Here's the picture 2 months later. Completely reversed the tumor on the eyeball of a 3-year-old, diagnosed as Kaposi sarcoma. Completely reversed it on a gluten-free diet. They didn't do anything else, just that. And I'm showing you this because any condition may be caused by a sensitivity to wheat. And in this paper, I wrote the 3 separate conditions: type 1 diabetes, liver sclerosis, and Kaposi sarcoma in the eye, all reversed on a gluten-free diet. That's pretty darn cool. And so it's going to open a lot of eyes in the world. Hi, Jan from Arizona, and Catherine from Washington, and Sharon's in the house, and Robert from Cincinnati, Muriel from Maine. So great to see you guys, and from all over the world. Judy, West Palm Beach, Denise in Idaho, Terry, thanks for the thumbs up. Kelly, hi. Barbara from the Sunshine Coast in Australia. Hello, Barbara. I love the Sunshine Coast. It was one of the first places where, you walk down the street and people look at you and say, hello, 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 and then just keep walking, right? There's really friendly people there. Cheryl from Wellington and Danita. Yeah, that's right, Danita. It's a lot of different functions, So one of the things we want to do as on our road to health is always treat our livers with kindness. Always, meaning take care of them, because you only have one oil filter. Reed Davis has joined. Hey, Reed, good to see you, man. Thanks for being here. Reed's my riding buddy. We go riding together. And Kristen, what about liver nodules? In my case, supposedly not cancerous. Absolutely, Kristen. Absolutely, that there's a trigger causing those nodules. And so the trigger could easily be a food that you're sensitive to. There has to be something going on. And so the goal is to identify what's the trigger for this? Where's it coming from? Liver nodules just don't happen out of the blue. If it were in my case, in my realm, I would be looking for food sensitivities and toxic chemical sensitivities, Kristen. And what that means is looking for antibodies. The first test I would do would be the wheat zoomer. And then I would look to a panel looking at antibodies to toxic chemicals. That could be Cyrex, C-Y-R-E-X, Cyrex array number 14, I think it is. I think that's the toxic chemical panel. I think it's 14. I'm not sure, but I think so. Brian from Leduc. Hello, Brian. Thanks for being here. So in working with the liver, some of you have heard about something called coffee enemas. And the reason they work, and they really do work, there's hundreds and hundreds of cases of people whose diseases have been arrested or reversed by including coffee enemas in their protocols. The reason they work is that the coffee acts as a purgative, and it stimulates, almost like squeezing the liver in a way. It's not actually, but it's like you're milking it to get some of the toxic crud out of it. And they're very helpful at times. So in doing liver detoxification, there are many different detox programs out there that you can do. I personally like my friend, Dr. Deanna Minnick. Deanna has a detox protocol that she has on her website that you might want to check out. Minnick is M-I-N-I-C-H. She's great, and she's part of the Dream Team. I don't know that if I've told you guys this, but I have been invited to be the chairman of the Celiac Society of India's annual conference next January in New Delhi. And so I said yes, and we're bringing in the Dream Team, and we're going to have a worldwide event. We're going to have it live stream also, so people can watch it and download it and watch it at their convenience. It's going to be over 2 days. I'm bringing in world-class speakers from all over the world. Professor Yehuda Schoenfeld from Tel Aviv, Israel, Professor Rodney Ford from New Zealand, and Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride from England, and Deanna Minnick from the US, and a number of others. So I'll tell you more about that, and once we have the registration set up so you guys can register if you're interested. It's going to be a great event, Cheryl O'Brien asked, Cheryl O'Brien spelled Y-A-N. Well, hello, Cheryl. I don't know if you're a cousin. Scott Larkin just joined. Hey, Scott, nice to see you, buddy. Cheryl asked about, let's see, I lost your questions about fatty livers, I think. What do you do about a fatty liver? Well, the first thing you have to do is look at your food intake and see what foods you're eating that are not working well for you. What foods are you sensitive to? And then I would look at the microbiome to see what my microbiome is doing right now, because our absorption is controlled to a large degree by our microbiome. There's a test that I would do for the microbiome. It's called Biome, B-I-O-M-E, Biome. And you can find out more about that on our website, theDr.com/Biome. That link should be set up. If it's not, then you just go to theDr.com and look at tests, and you'll see the Biome test there. It's a stool analysis, but it tells you a lot of information about what's going on in your gut right now. That has a whole lot to do with how your body is handling fats and why is your body accumulating fatty nodules in the liver. Usually it's because of too many fats over the years, usually, or that your body has been able to really digest and break down the fats. Those are contributing factors. It's all about investigation, Cheryl. You have to explore, where is this coming from? Why is it there? Chandra says, please let me know if you have a recommendation for a tried and true liver cleanse type supplement. Thank you for all you do. The tried and true one that I've used for over 25 years is Castor Oil Pack. They work, and they work wonderfully. And if you, let's see, I don't think we have the handout for Castor Oil Packs easily accessible. We're not ready to say just email us for that. But there's a book, there's a really great book. It's a little paperback book called The Oil That Heals. And when you read this book, it's about a physician, 50 years in practice, and he talks about all the ways he's used castor oil packs. And I've used castor oil packs for every liver dysfunction I've ever come across. And they're always a component, and they always help. And they feel really good too. So what you do is you take a cotton or wool cloth, pure cotton or pure wool, and you get organic castor oil. You can get it, I think you can get it on our website. I think you can. I think so, but I'm not sure. So if you can't find it on our website, castor oil, what? No, Marzi says no. So go to the Casey, CAYCE Research Institute, find them online. And Misty says, hey, Doc, I'm sharing this with my face group, Scleroderma and Functional Medicine group. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Misty. It's really kind of you. So you go to the Casey Research Institute website. You'll find them. I don't know what the URL is, but you'll find them. And get their castor oil and a castor oil pack. Then you take the pack and you fold it and you just lay it over your liver. Your liver is on the right side around the bottom of the ribs. The rib cage is protecting the liver on the right side. So you go around the lower part of the ribs on the right side and down into the abdomen with the pack. You pour the castor oil on it, then you put it on your skin, then a piece of saran wrap on top of it, and then a towel, and then a hot water bottle. And you just lay down and relax. And it feels really good. Now, the castor oil is sticky, gooey stuff, you know, so when you pour the oil on the cloth, leave the ends of it without oil so you can grab the cloth easily, not get the sticky oil on your hands. But you put it on there, and plastic wrap, saran wrap, and then a towel, and then the hot water bottle, and just relax. And I've done that for 30 years. When parents have a child with ear infections, we put a castor oil pack on their tummy. Why? Because 70% of your immune system's in your gut. And the castor oil packs just enhance the immune function. The ear infection's gone the next day, the next morning. We've seen this time and time again. And so in this case, you're putting it not just on the abdomen, but a little more on the right side, and including the bottom of the rib cage, so that you're getting more of that. And the heat from the hot water bottle, if you don't have a hot water bottle, you can use a heating pad. But I like to keep the electricity away from my body, because electrochemical pollution, it's not major, but it's, you know, a little bit. So if you can use a hot water bottle, use that. But if you can't, then use a heating pad. That'll be fine. And you leave it on for 15 to 30 minutes. And it just feels great. And then you just take a towel and wipe off the oil. Most of it's been absorbed through your skin. And if you do that 2-3 times a week, Lynn says hi from South Australia. Hello, Lynn. Janine from Albuquerque. Bernie from Saskatchewan. Thanks. Isabel in San Diego. Hello. And Catherine in Grass Valley, California. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining, all of you. And thanks for hanging in here. Thank you. Castor Oil Packs is the one thing, and if you read the book, The Oil That Heals, a little paperback book, you say, oh my goodness, it reverses ear infections, deals with fatty livers, deals with colon cancer. Women in this book testify that they eliminated their breast cancer. Now, I'm not saying just put a castor oil pack on your breast for breast cancer, but it certainly doesn't hurt to include it with whatever protocols you're doing. If you're doing radiation or chemotherapy or alternative approaches, whatever you're choosing to do, castor oil packs are a very safe addition that have a very immune enhancing function in your body. For all of you with autoimmune disease, you really want to enhance your immune function, not suppress your immune function. In traditional medicine, they suppress immune function when you have an autoimmune disease, saying your immune system's gone haywire. And if you've read my book, The Autoimmune Fix, and if you haven't read the book, get the book. If you haven't read the book, that autoimmunity is your body's way of trying to protect you from something. So the question is, what's it trying to protect you from? And when you read the book, your jaw drops again and again as you realize just how true that is. And when you find the trigger, whether it's wheat sensitivity or toxic metals or toxic chemicals, and you start detoxing and getting this stuff out, the result is you start getting better. That's why a liver detox is so important, is because it's a primary step in detoxing your body, is that the oil filter has to be working. My friend, the toxic world we live in, why am I going blank? The founder of Bastyr University. I'm just going blank here because it's 1 a.m. I'll come up with his name in a minute. Honey, Google Amazon of the Toxic World and the name of the author. Somebody will throw it up here in a minute too. But he talks about before you start a detox program, you have to make sure you can detox. So you don't want to start mobilizing heavy metals to get them out or get rid of all the toxic chemicals in our body until your liver and your colon are working well, because you have to mobilize this stuff to get it out. And if you don't have a good detox system and you start mobilizing to get all this stuff out, it gets mobilized in your bloodstream and it can go to your brain. And so you want to make sure that you've got a well-functioning detox pathway. You're having really good bowel movements. You're drinking a lot of water. It's a ½ ounce per pound body weight. Whatever you weigh, ½ ounce per pound, that's what you need to be drinking every day. That because the water is the hydration medium that carries out the toxins. And if you're dehydrated or barely getting enough water, everything's sluggish and your highway is just moving really slow. Everything gets backed up. So you don't want that. So Shelley says, my husband is one of the unusual adult onset type 1 diabetics diagnosed 33 years ago, and I'm bound and determined to cure him this year. I have found the liver to be the culprit, so this is all making sense to me. Great, Shelley, great. And there's some really good research now that fasting mimicking diets, which means you eat all of your food within 8 hours a day. So 16 hours a day, you're not eating. You're drinking water, but you're not eating. And fasting mimicking diets stimulate stem cells in your body, your own stem cells, and they're reversing type 1 diabetes. Not only in animals, but also in humans. They're stimulating the beta cells of the pancreas to come back and make insulin again. And they just published on this in the last year. I've got 2 papers on it now. So FMD, fasting mimicking diets. Danuta Shuchaka, hello from Poland. Hello, Danuta. I'm sorry if I didn't say, is that right, Shuchaka? No, my wife goes, no, man, give it up. You don't know what you're doing here. So hello, Danuta. Nice to see you. Thanks so much. Catherine from Ohio, working to make my fatty liver from type 2 diabetes and obesity better by eating a low-carb diet. Way to go. Low-carb diets help because carbohydrates are sugars, and when your body takes in more sugar than it can digest and use, it gets converted to fat. And so fatty livers have often been associated with high sugar diets. Isabel, how do you think of the liver gallbladder flush? They work. They're an important component of a liver detox program. There's a few ways of doing that. Usually it's drinking some olive oil with apple juice or with lemon. And I've used that many, many times in practice. That's a helpful tool. There are many ways to flush the liver. The safest way, I think, to start is with the castor oil packs. Now here at Paracelsus Al Rank, and they've just changed their name. They're in transition on their name to Swiss Mountain Clinic, because there's two Paracelsus here in Switzerland, and this is the one that Head and Shoulders is just outstanding. So to avoid any confusion, they're changing their name to Swiss Mountain Clinic. But here, they start with day one. When people come in, they're they're guiding the food intake. And the restaurant here is a destination restaurant. You would drive here for this food. And lots of vegetables, and very little protein this week, and very little carbohydrates. The only carbohydrates yesterday, for the first time, one of the meals, we had some potatoes this week. So it's lots of different vegetables and vegetable soups, but staying away from proteins and staying away from carbohydrates, because carbohydrates get converted into fats, and fats are a little more taxing on the liver. So this week, they're making it our livers much easier to function by focusing almost exclusively on cooked and raw vegetables. Elisa Kaminsky says, I'm a holistic RN. I've been gluten-free for 4 years, then ate a piece of cake 3 weeks ago, got a virus for 12 days I could not get rid of. Now my liver enzymes are triple the norm. What to do? Well, I think there's no argument that you aren't going to eat cake anymore, standard cake. You know, when people would come to me and they've been gluten-free and say, oh, doc, I ate a pizza last night and I feel terrible. I say, oh, good for you. Good for you. Now you know. Now you know. No one can argue with you. So Lisa, you've set off an inflammatory cascade. And I don't mean to joke about it. It's no fun. I know it's no fun. You set off an inflammatory cascade that could easily go for a couple of months unless you calm it down. So there are a number of things that work for that. And I really can't give too many recommendations unless I've seen you, but some of the general things you can do. Vitamin D, high doses of vitamin D will calm down the inflammation in the gut pretty quickly. That would be 50,000 units. Sometimes I'll give 50,000 units of vitamin D for 4 to 7 days every day. And then you do it once a week for 8 weeks. Never had a problem with that for anyone ever. And that calms down the inflammation in the gut and systemically also. It'll do it. It helps systemically. I would take a lot of turmeric. Turmeric is, I think, one of the most potent anti-inflammatories in the natural arsenal that we have. If a virus flared up, that means that it was in your body already, and your immune system just got compromised, and so it reared its ugly head up. There is a product called Biocidin, Biocidin, and there's 4 different forms of it, and it used to be 3. I'm still calling it the trilogy. I do the trilogy, but there's a 4th form now. The 4th form is a toothpaste. So the trilogy is a spray, and you give yourself a spray. I carry it with me everywhere I go in the world. I've always got my Biocidin in my roller bag coming on the airplane, and I do a couple of pumps just to protect myself from what I'm about to breathe on an airplane. There are drops, and you put a couple of drops on your tongue, and then put some drops in a little bit of water, gargle with the water, and swallow it down. And then there are capsules, and you take a couple of capsules. And the trilogy, well, now it's a quad, I don't even know what the word would be, with the toothpaste, but you do that every day. And we've used that with viruses and bacterial infections over the years, and it's been really effective. So hopefully that'll help you with what you're going through. I'm sorry you're suffering, and now I know you know that you're done with wheat. Tracy Holcamp Chiquita, if you are caffeine sensitive, use decaf. Oh, Tracy, I think you're referring to coffee enemas, and that's true. Any info on Alpha-1? I'm not sure what you're referring to by that, Leo. I can't comment on that. Is there a link between liver and hypothyroid? Absolutely. There is a link with most dysfunction in your body and your liver most of the time. So you can do that little liver blemish that I said in the beginning of this episode. If you came in afterwards, just go back and watch it later. It's a general screen. When you have elevated liver enzymes, then we know for sure you've got a problem. Here's a pearl. One of the liver enzymes is called GGT. And when GGT is in the higher fourth of the normal range, so if the reference range, depending on the lab, say the reference range is 0 to 40. So if you're between 30 and 40, that's the highest fourth of that range, you're normal. But those people have a much higher incidence of developing diabetes because of higher normal GGT. Where does GGT come from? Toxic chemical exposures. The more toxic chemicals you have, the higher your GGT goes. And the reference ranges to most laboratories have accommodated what's common in people we see today who don't have a diagnosed disease yet. That becomes the reference range for the blood work. Well, what's common, because we all live in this toxic world, is not what's normal. So what's normal is to have very low GGT, and what's common is to have a higher reference range of GGT. Some of you have heard me say every child born in America today that they check has at least 180 toxic chemicals in their bloodstream at birth. 180. This is like such a mess that we have in our world today, and it's our liver. It's the job of the liver to protect us from all these toxic things. But you've all heard me say this before. Our immune system was designed to protect us. It's the armed forces. It's there to protect us. What did the immune system of our ancestors have to protect us from? Bugs, parasites, virus, mold, and fungus. That's it. Bugs, parasites, virus, mold, and fungus, nothing else. There was no gluten for our ancestors. There was no orange juice. There was no polysorbate 80. There was no red dye number 3. There was no extra lead in the environment, or mercury in the food, or arsenic in the rice. There wasn't any of that. So our immune system tries to protect us as best it can. But the only things it can do is considering bug, parasite, virus, mold, or fungus. That's also true of your liver. Our filters were not designed to filter bisphenol A, and they don't very well. They'll do the best they can, and that's one of the causes of fatty nodules in the liver, by the way, is the toxic chemicals we're exposed to. I forget the name of the person that asked the question earlier. But we need to recognize that your liver, this oil filter, was designed to filter bugs, parasites, virus, mold, and fungus. That's it. And it's having to do this huge job today because of how toxic our world is. So let's keep that in mind when we think, well, I don't need to take care of my liver. No, we all do. It's working really hard for us. Let me get back down here and see. Dr. Tom, can you talk about why I seem to have reduced ability to digest fats effectively? Can only stomach olive and coconut oils, and the role bioformation in the liver plays in this? Sure. Good question, really good question. Your liver makes bile. It's made in the liver, tiny amounts, but then it gets sent down into the storage pouch underneath the liver called your gallbladder. And your gallbladder stores this bile, this really bile. Bile is like bile. It's like something bitter. When you eat dandelion leaves, for example, which are really good for your liver, by the way, really good. If you can get organic dandelion leaves and greens, and many stores now sell them, or if you can I'd grow dandelions in your garden. They're not a weed. I mean, they're really helpful. Just pluck them before the flower turns white, because that's where the seeds are. Pluck the flowers off, and then you'll get all the seeds going into the earth, and you have 100 dandelions next season, right? But the greens are great for your liver because it helps to stimulate the bile flow, and it purges your gallbladder. So anyway, your gallbladder is a storage pouch that holds bile. When we eat food, there is receptors in our intestines that register how much fat's coming in. And when that fat comes in, those receptors say, oh, this amount of fat is here. And the cells lining the inside of your intestines, remember your intestines are a tube, the cells lining it make this chemical, it's not a chemical, it's a hormone, make this hormone called cholecystokinin. And you make enough cholecystokinin for the amount of fat that you're eating. Cholecystokinin then goes into the bloodstream and it goes to the pancreas and it goes to the gallbladder. And it says this amount of fat and this amount of protein is coming in. So your cells are monitoring the amount of protein and the amount of fats, and you make cholecystokinin. Cholecystokinin goes to the gallbladder and says, I need this amount of bile because that's the amount of fat that's coming in right now. Your bile then squeezes itself, it contracts to squeeze out, the gallbladder squeezes itself, contracting to squeeze out some bile that goes down into the intestines to break down the fats. Bile is like dishwashing soap. If you want to get the grease off of your plates, you need some soapy suds in the sink, right? When you're washing the dishes. That's bile. And if you don't have bile, you don't break down fats. So this whole world of gallbladder surgeries, hundreds of thousands of people have had their gallbladders out and then told, go home and live a good life. Well, wait a minute. How am I going to digest my fats, doctor? And surgeons don't think of that. Their job is to be the best surgeon they can be. But the result is you're not going to digest fats very well right now. What does that mean? Vitamin A deficiency, vitamin D deficiency, vitamin E deficiency, vitamin K deficiency, which means vulnerabilities to osteoporosis and cardiovascular disease and eye problems. And the list goes on and on and on. So if you've had your gallbladder out, every single person that's had their gallbladder out has to be taking bile supplements, digestive enzymes, to help you break down your fats. Now, here's a pretty cool statistic that got me excited, and you'll see what gets me excited here, is when you have celiac disease, so a sensitivity to wheat, you make 1/3 the cholecystokinin with the same amount of fat exposure that everybody else makes. 1/3. So that means you're 2/3 deficient in sending the message out of how much bile you make. So when you don't send the message out to cholecystokinin, you get reduced gallbladder emptying because the gallbladder is not squeezing, and you get increased gallbladder volume. And this bile, it just sits in there for a long, long time because it's not being secreted down to break down your fats. It sits in there and it dries up. What do you get? Stones, gallbladder stones. Celiac disease patients are much more susceptible to gallbladder stones. The numbers are really high for them. Why? Because they've got reduced gallbladder emptying and increased gallbladder volume because they're not making enough cholecystokinin because they've got inflammation in the gut from the wheat that's down there causing the inflammation. So that's one of the mechanisms by which wheat sensitivities affect gallbladder function and digestion. And so if you have gallbladder dysfunction, you don't break down your fats, you don't absorb the fat-soluble vitamins, you get a vitamin D deficiency, a vitamin A deficiency. Well, I'm taking vitamin D, how can I have a vitamin D deficiency? You're not making enough bile, or you're not secreting enough bile. Isn't that cool to learn? It's so great. There was a doctor named Dr. James Brennan in the 1980s, a medical doctor. He wrote a book on food sensitivities and gallbladder disease. And once he learned about this, he never did another gallbladder surgery. He saved all of his patients from surgery by just changing their diets and getting their gallbladder working better. Okay. Charity asks, can a castor oil pack help someone in end-stage liver failure? It's always going to help, Charity. It's not a miracle in itself, but it's always going to help. There's no condition I know of where it's contraindicated. I just don't know of a condition where you wouldn't want to include a castor oil pack in your protocols. Can fatty liver reduce the effectiveness of insulin in type 1 diabetes? We've been experiencing indolent high blood glucose for a while, especially overnight. Sure, James, you bet it can. You bet it can. And helping your liver to function better is only going to help with your type 1 diabetes. Danita says, can a heating pad be used with the oil pack? Sure, you can. I like to stay away from the electrical energy. It's electrical contamination with the heating pad. But if you don't have a hot water bottle, that'll work. Annie from Canada gives me a Canadian flag and a big smile. Thanks, Annie. Elizabeth Hopkins, Irene from Wyoming, Sandra from South Carolina. Thank you, guys. If you have a fatty liver, is it okay to continue with a good high-fat diet? I don't think so. Ina, if you have a fatty liver, one would first suspect that you're not digesting fats very well. I'd want to check that to see, but I would not be comfortable recommending a high-fat diet until we get this fatty liver more under control. How long do you leave the pack on? Until the hot water bottle is not hot anymore. So 20, 30 minutes. There's no rule of thumb. If you have a heating pad, you can leave it on for an hour. I wouldn't leave it on longer than that, but that would be fine. Zoya from New Jersey. Hello, Zoya. Kathy, how can we heal without all this stress? Really good question, Kathy. I just talked to everybody here tonight a little bit. And one of the things I talked about is an exercise that if you try this exercise for one day, just notice what happens. Just notice. Set your alarm on your watch to ring every hour, every waking hour. And when it rings, just pause with whatever it is you're doing. If you're sitting at your computer, just pause. If you're driving, just drive, but turn off the music for a moment and take 5 deep breaths. One. And do that 5 times. And then go back to whatever you're doing. Next hour, when your alarm goes off, do it again. And notice what happens after the 4th or 5th time. You notice that you're just a little more comfortable. You're feeling a little bit better overall. So it takes you about 15 seconds out of every hour. And if you're awake for 16 hours in a day, that's 4 minutes out of your day. But you notice the change. I think it's 4 minutes. I think my math was, I'm impressed if my math was good there. 15 seconds times 4 is 1 minute. And so out of every hour, if you're awake for 16 hours, so 4 times is 1. Yeah, that's 4 minutes. All right. I used to be good in math. So when you do that for 15 seconds out of every hour, you just notice at the end of the day, thanks, Misty, Dr. Joe Pizzorno. Thank you so much. Of course, I'm embarrassed, but it was Joe Pizzorno. Thank you. If you do this for 15 minutes out of every waking hour, 15 seconds out of every waking hour, your attitude about life changes. So when you're dealing with stress, that's something that can really help. Cheryl O'Brien says, my family is from Dorchester, Maine, but the O'Briens were in Frederick, Maryland in 1800 and migrated to Amity, Knox, Polk County, Ohio. Cheryl, Philip O'Brien came over in 1757, my ancestor, to Maryland, and they fought in the War of Independence. They were granted lands in Kentucky, which was the wilderness, and they went to Kentucky almost 2 years with wagons to get to Kentucky from Maryland. 2 years. There were no roads, crossing rivers and all that. So I think we're cousins somewhere back in Ireland. So hi, Cheryl. Karen says, that sounds so easy enough with the Castor Oil Pack. That's exactly right, Karen. And your kids will love it. They'll love the feel. It feels kind of gooey at first and all that, but they'll just love it. Let's see, the DrTomOBryanGlutenFree Biome Test. Oh, thank you, honey, for posting that. Yeah, so the Biome Test is there. That is the most comprehensive test to check your microbiome and see what is it that you're dealing with right now. What order do you cleanse the liver in relation to the colon and the kidneys? Really good question. Colon comes first, always, because the liver dumps into the colon, so you want to make sure you've got the pathway through there. But you can do both liver and colon similarly at the same time, or really close, piggybacking on each other. I've recommended hundreds. And Kathy also said, Dr. Joe Pizzorno. Thank you, Kathy McDevitt. Thank you so much. And Jeanette Valade Carlucci says, Pizzorno. Yes, you're right, Jeanette. Yeah, I know it's embarrassing. I forgot Joe's name, but it's, you know, it's almost 2:00 in the morning here, so I'll accept that. Could coffee be making Hashimoto's worse? The answer is yes, absolutely. 1/3 of the population carries a gene, CYP 450, and it's CYP 1B2, I think it is. About 1/3 of the population has a gene, and they're called slow metabolizers. And for them, coffee increases the risk of degenerative diseases, increases the risk of heart disease. And for others, they drink coffee and it reduces their risk of heart disease. Why is that? Because they're fast metabolizers and it helps to move the liver. You know, it acts as a stimulant for the liver, but slow metabolizers do not. And so what do? You do the genetic test to find out, am I a slow or fast detoxifier? The test is called the Detoxigenomic panel. We'll post it. The DrTomOBryanGlutenFree and Marzi will post it here in just a minute. It's called the Detoxigenomic profile, and you find out. And Scott said, Joe Pizzorno. Thanks, Scott. Scotty, we need to do a glass of wine soon, man. The test is called Detoxigenomic. It's a simple blood test. No, I don't even think it's a blood test anymore. I think they can do it with a buccal swab now, I think, but we'll check. We'll check and see. And you find out if you're a slow or fast metabolizer. If you're a slow metabolizer, coffee's no good for you. And you run the risk of one of those where it increases the risk of cardiovascular disease. It's your genes. And so genes don't determine what you're going to get. Genes determine what you're vulnerable to getting. And so, Mrs. Patient, you pull a chain and brace at the weakest link, one end, the middle, the other end, your heart, your brain, your liver, your kidneys. So don't pull on the chain so hard. You know, so if your weak link is that you're a slow metabolizer, don't be drinking coffee because you're pulling on the chain. You find other beverages to drink. Does that make sense to you guys? Can you give me a clue here if that's working for you? I know it says there's hundreds of you out there, hundreds and hundreds. So let me know if that makes sense. And Kathy asked, what kind of water? Does it have to be alkaline? We always want the cleanest water possible, the very cleanest water possible. Thank you for the hearts and the thumbs up and things. Thank you. We want the cleanest water that you can get, Kathy. And alkaline is always better for us because we're so acidic. Most of our world is acidic. And Sharon asked 16 ounces of warm lemon water before eating in the morning. That's a really good suggestion. Thanks, Sharon. I forgot that. And I do it many mornings. This is also for your liver. Is that when you wake up in the morning, make some hot water and squeeze a lemon into it. And the juice of one lemon in a cup of hot water every morning is a nice way to start the day. It wakes up your digestive system. It alkalinizes you a bit, and it helps to purge the liver a little bit. It's a very gentle thing to do thank you for the hearts and thank you for the smiles. That's really nice. Leanne Scott, did you make your wife stay up with you at 1 a.m.? That's love for her, but her adrenals. I agree, Leanne. And so Marcy's, what? Thanks, Leanne. Thanks a lot, Leanne. I'll hear it later. Kathy asks, which Paracelsus are you at? It's L. Rank, Kathy. That's the one. Head and Shoulders, L. Rank. That's why they're changing their name to Swiss Mountain Clinic. It's heaven on earth here in terms of the staff and the people that run it. Are there any side effects when doing the castor oil packs and for how long it should be done? No side effects that I know of, Elizabeth, none whatsoever. Once again, the book is called The Oil That Heals. It's on Amazon. And Zoya asks, what's your opinion on modified citrus pectin? It's good, Zoya. For some people, it helps a lot. Not only is it a prebiotic, it is a prebiotic that stimulates this substance in your body in your gut called intestinal alkaline phosphatase, which helps heal your intestines and supports the good bacteria from being there. It's great for that. Isabella says, thanks, Doc. I run a liver gallbladder cleanse, and you confirm many of the steps we do to prepare for the cleanse. Great, great. let's see, Anna Wisniewska says, hello, what about damaged liver by long-time Lyme disease? There is no way to treat Lyme that attacks all organs in a body. When you get your immune system a little more under control, the goal is, I mean, it's almost impossible to get rid of these viruses. We all have, when checked, we have a little Epstein-Barr. We all have a little cytomegalovirus. Almost all of us have a little Lyme. It's when these things just run rampant. They're uncontrolled. And that comes because we have so much inflammation from foods that we're eating that we're sensitive to, and our immune system's trying to fight these foods, and we lose the ability to keep the viruses under control. So the viruses run rampant. Anytime you've got a viral infection of any type, you know that your immune system is tired. And usually it's tired because it's been working so hard protecting you, unbeknownst to you, from the wheat that you were eating or the dairy that you were eating every day. Oh, I love my cheese. Well, your body doesn't, or whatever the foods are, or the environmental exposures we have that our immune system's trying to protect us from, it's getting weakened. There's a lot of information on that in the book, The Autoimmune Fix. And so you can review there. Mom passed away 10 years ago. She was a nurse and also a Depression era baby. She knew all these old school remedies, ear infection. She used castor oil and rice heated. Yeah. And put into a napkin, put the napkin on the ear and it pulls out the infection. Yep, absolutely, Cindy. Also breast milk in the ear. Breast milk is loaded with immunoglobulins, and some women have done that and knocked out their baby's ear infections in one night. Castor oil packs work good with kids. I don't know that you can put a pack on an infant. I'd be a little concerned about the heat. You don't want to use electric heating pads with infants ever. How do you spell biocide? B-I-O-C-I-D-I-N. It's on our site, theDr.com. I don't know if it's forward. Oh, it's posted. Okay, it's posted for you. Thank you, Marcy. How do you spell? Okay, biocide. I have scleroderma and I have had to have my gallbladder removed. So my point is that it's best to concentrate mainly on my liver before doing anything else. Question mark. First, make sure your bowel movements are good. We want the bowels working well first, and that's why here at the clinic, all the meals are a lot of vegetables right away. Everybody's commenting, oh yeah, my bowels are working so well. It's because you're eating a lot of fiber and lots of vegetables. You do that first and make sure you're drinking 1/2 ounce of water per pound body weight. Everyone here gets a big canister of hot water in the morning and the evening, and they have to drink it. The morning one before dinner and the dinner one before the next morning. And so making sure you're well hydrated, bowels working well, and then liver detoxing. Yes, that's a good protocol. And take digestive enzymes, Karen, because you've had your gallbladder removed. Let's see, Gabrielle, what about Accutane and the liver? Yeah. There's so many medications that damage the liver. You can look online with whatever the medication you're taking and just read the side effects. It's pretty scary. So I always say that if you need the medication, you take it. You always take it. Don't be silly. But then you figure out, why do I need this medication, and reduce the need for the medication. All these medications, if you look at the FDA approval process, you see they all were applied for to be used for a short period of time, not months and not years. And that's where the side effects mostly come, is from the long-term use of these medications. So if you're in a state where you have a condition going on, your doctor's prescribing something to you, you need to stay afloat. Some of you have heard me say this, I'll do it again. When you have a symptom, it's like you've fallen over a waterfall and you've crashed into the pond below, right? And you swim up to the surface and spit the water out and say, oh, thank God I'm alive, thank God. And you're trying to stay afloat in the pond of diabetes, or the pond of scleroderma, or the pond of recurrent miscarriages, whatever the pond is, you're trying to stay afloat. But the water is so turbulent because the waterfall keeps falling into the pond. It's really turbulent water. You're living the lifestyle that caused the problem. So whatever the problem is, you're living the lifestyle that caused the problem, unless it was a trauma. That's different. But aside from that, any disease is lifestyle oriented, people. It's what we've done consciously or unconsciously. You're breathing the air from the smokestacks, and you didn't do anything to cause that. You know, the main type of Alzheimer's now is inhalation Alzheimer's. It's what you're breathing. 60 to 65% of Alzheimer's cases, they're triggered and fueled by what you're breathing. That's why it's so important to check for mold. So when you're in this pond, this of turbulent water, you need a life jacket to stay afloat. Don't drown. So you try a natural life jacket if you can. That's natural things. But if they don't work, you take the drugs. Take the drugs for depression. Take the drugs for your liver. Take the drugs for high blood pressure, whatever you have. But don't stay in the water. Swim over to the side, get out of the water, walk up the hill, walk back up the river, and figure out what fell in the river. That's functional medicine. That's what these things are about. That's what my 2 books are about. The new book comes out September 18th, and it's on pre-order now. For all of you, if you want to pay it forward for these Facebook Lives, please order the book now on Amazon. The more people that pre-order the book, the more Amazon goes, whoa, look at this. And then they put more attention to announce the book out there. So please, if you would, I don't ask for much, but this I am. The book is called You Can Fix Your Brain, and it's on Amazon. And so please order it. And if anything at all, it's, you know, for these Facebook Lives. So that's how you can pay it back, I guess. And I talk about this a lot in the book, about the waterfall and many, many more concepts. I'm really happy with this book. I think it's going to rock the world pretty well. Okay, I'm over an hour. It's 2 a.m. here, and so it's time to go. Thank you all so very much. If you like this, if this is of value, please send it to your friends. Please share it. The more you share this, the more Facebook will announce that I'm doing these things, and the more people get to see this. So please share and consider getting the book. And thank you so much. And we'll see you next week. We'll be here in Switzerland. See you next week. And thanks so very much. Bye-bye. And thank you for all the hearts. That's really nice.